The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, he'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The North Kesteven series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Welcome back to North Kesteven, everybody. We've got 3 parishes left which are on the southern tip of the city of Lincoln, and we're going to be doing 2 of them this weekend. The third one is a lot bigger, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that one yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, this one, it lies on a dead-end road, and at the end of the road you can see here it says End of Public Maintenance Highway. That's what that sign says up there. You can carry on via a bridleway. It takes you out into North Kesteven, but we're not going that way. There's not really anything of interest out there. We're going the other way instead to go and find a church and a school. This is the parish of South Hykeham. South Hykeham, Blue Tit Homestead, South. We still have 3 parishes to cover on the outskirts of Lincoln, and today we're taking on the first of them. It's not that long ago that there were only 2. One of them was and still is North Hykeham, one of the largest in North Kesteven. The other one was the former civil parish of Oban, Haddington and South Hykeham, but the relationship between those villages was broken in 1991. South Hykeham now flies solo and today forms part of the wider Lincoln urban area, semi-contiguous as it is with North Hykeham. South Hykeham is mentioned in the Domesday Book, where it's described as Hykeham. Back then it had 14 households and 2 fisheries. It didn't have a church, but it does now. Hykeham means Blue Tit Homestead, suggesting this area was quite a common place to find them. That might be true even today, given that South Hykeham is for the most part quite a rural parish, despite being on the fringes of a big city. Part of the reason for its rural nature is the presence of Hykeham Moor, but for how much longer remains to be seen. Several brand new developments have been built on Hykeham Moor in recent years, and they continue to expand the southwestern reaches of the city of Lincoln. It's all a far cry from when the largest structures on the moor were 2 windmills, one made of wood, the other of brick. So this is a varied one. In the west it's very urban, yet in the east it's like a rural hamlet in the middle of nowhere. Let's see what's between the 2. You might even spot a plane or 2 at one point, you know. We start with a drive around an area known as Hykeham Moor, once a very historically significant area to the southwest of Lincoln. Hykeham Moor was split into 2 manors, each with its own windmill. The Domesday Book records that one manor was owned by Seward, the other by Elric, son of Margaret. In the 12th century, one manor was given to the King of France and the other to Christ College, Cambridge. As for the windmills, one was built of brick and the other was wooden. The brick-built windmill was on Mill Lane and was known locally as Ladd's Mill. The wooden windmill was located alongside the route of Newark Road, which today we know as the A1434. The millstones from both mills are on display at the North Hykeham Memorial Hall today. That's effectively all there would once have been on Hykeham Moor. The area has seen many changes over the years, including the construction of thousands of new houses, and these are what we're currently driving around. Some of these new homes stand on what used to be a huge ironworks, although the vast majority of that was within the boundaries of North Hykeham as opposed to South. That means we'll be back here again later in the series. For now, let's head south across Newark Road and away from the edge of Lincoln's southwestern urban sprawl. Very quickly, Hykeham Moor becomes less residential in nature and more industrial instead. There's a small lane here which leads to the village hall at the end of it. There are two distinct industrial estates that flank Boundary Lane on the road to the main village. They contain businesses such as JB Bodyworks, Timberwise UK and Jackson Building Centre. What you might not realise as you pass through this area, however, is the fact that Hykeham Moor has a private airstrip. It's not used all that often. In fact, its use is so infrequent that it's barely able to define itself as an airfield. It has two runways orientated in a similar direction, and they can be found to the north of Boundary Lane, kind of opposite all of this industrial stuff. South Hykeham itself doesn't have a lot. In effect, there are just two main landmarks in this village. One of them is the church, the other is the primary school. Otherwise, it's a very residential affair on one long lane that leads from east to west. Now, generally speaking, when people hear the name Hykeham, they think of North Hykeham, because that is the bigger of the three that are left here at the south and southern tip of Lincoln, and it will take me a long time to actually plan a route around that one. You'll see when we actually get to it just how big it is. But of course, South Hykeham is its own thing, and it does have its own church, and there it is. Let's check it out. The Domesday Book didn't record a church here. Indeed, St Michael and All Angels Church, which is the building here today, wasn't constructed until at least the 13th century. Despite that, the present church is believed to be the third to have been built on the same site. The first was built in or sometime shortly before 1138, according to a record that states there was one at that time. In 1866, the spire was struck by lightning. This was repaired and followed by a programme of restoration and rebuilding in 1869. Additions included the south porch and the installation of new windows. The interior was also improved and acquired its charming Victorian features, which are still evident today. The stained glass windows were later installed. One is in memory of the Lord of the Manor, E.R.C. Cust, and others are in memory of a rector's young son and a former churchwarden and his wife. These were all added in the late 19th century. St Michael's has a problem with subsidence, which is why its apse has been underpinned recently. This was done after two test pits were dug to the immediate east of the post-medieval part of the church in 2013, which ascertained subsidence as the reason for the apse's structural defects. While they were at it, evidence for an earlier church building on the site of the current one was recovered in the form of limestone rubble and roof tile fragments. Okay, so we've reached the end of Meadow Lane because the church stands right on the corner of it. It stands on the corner of Meadow Lane and Beck Lane. Now, if you were to go up Beck Lane, you would head towards North Hykeham. We're going the other way, though, towards Auburn and Haddington, because the only other thing to catch here in South Hykeham Village is the school. This is Wath Lane, which gets its name thanks to the River Witham, which passes to the south of the village. A wath was a ford or a wash, meaning at one time you could cross the river from South Hykeham. These days it's a dead end and there's no such crossing for vehicles, but if you don't mind getting your feet a little wet, there is a shallow weir. Not that I'd recommend trying to cross it, mainly because there's a footbridge too. South Hykeham's primary school opened in 1871 as a one-room building. The original red brick Victorian classroom remains today, but of course it's been extended a bit since then. In 1958, the first extension saw the main building be considerably enlarged. In 1993, the school was further extended to provide 2 extra purpose-built infant classrooms, and thus freeing the largest classroom to be used as a temporary hall. A new hall and ICT room were built in 2003, and 2010 saw the school updated with separate offices for the head and the administrator. The school currently has 6 classes, which is pretty decent when you consider the size of the village it serves. Having said that, with all the new builds on Hykeham Moor, it's very unlikely that this one will shrink in size anytime soon. And that's effectively it. Just walking my way back to the car now, back down Meadow Lane, all the way to the other end to where the bridle way is. And then we'll make our way towards Auburn and Haddington, and that'll be the last one this week. And that will do us for the first of the Hykeham twins. North Hykeham is a lot bigger, and there's a lot more to cover there. For that reason, it'll be a while before we tackle it. Instead, let's head south into the parish which used to share the same boundaries as this. In it, we'll tell the story of 2 churches, and we'll meet a dovecote, standing all on its own in a huge field of earthworks. Laters all. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.